Hey guys, what's going on? It's Terrence, second ever live. Uh, so see how it goes. Hopefully, it'll be better than the first one. It definitely won't be as long, nor will it be as long as any of the other lives that I've done. Per my norm, right? I took a few notes. We don't really have to take a whole lot of notes from the most recent game against the Valkyries. That was pretty rough, and I got a beep. I don't know what I got a beep for. Anyway, uh, nonetheless, right, is, there's always, now and always going to be, um, narratives, drama, whether it's from an organization or mainstream media or things of that nature. And of course, the only thing I can say to that is that you just kind of have to tune a lot of it out. You know, when or if CC comes back, uh, okay, we'll know she'll be on the court, right? She won't be listed, uh, which obviously, today she will be because new updates, whatever else, right? Uh, so she's, in my opinion, she's done. So, it's not a lot of people want to look forward to just say next season. Well, a couple things, right? We don't know if there's even going to be a next season because they still haven't worked out the CBA negotiation issues, and also, uh, you don't want to miss a chance anytime you have a chance to make the playoffs in any kind of run because you never know on any given day, right? So I play a game. What's going on, Brent? Good to see you again, man. And I apologize previously. It was, it was. Here, let me put this on one screen. There we go. It's pretty rough on that first live. So second live, well, I'm hoping for better, right? But obviously, if you watched any of the game the other night, as poorly as the team played as a whole, I mean, they lost by 12. It looked like 20 or 30. At the end of the day, right? It really was 12, and we were so bad. Everything was so bad. Game plan was bad. We couldn't make the coaching couldn't make in-game adjustments. Um, that's huge. People, act like okay, well, even when I played, well, when I was playing, right, it was well, I'm the one out there, getting it done. Who cares what, okay, well, now, being older, having coached also, um, I know the significant effect that a coach can definitely have on the outcome of a game. The player rotations. Uh, like I say, you're always trying to create a mismatch, whether it's offensively, defensively. Um, you know, your time management, is crucial. You know, White is notorious for ridiculous. I mean, the word where I'm from is redonkulous. As far as her time management, I don't know, that she even knows what that means. Maybe she does. I don't know. And this is from somebody that's supposedly played, right? And I'm like, I don't know what, if she was playing the same game because anyway, that's neither here nor there, right? So I put my whiteboard, what, some coaches will call it, or not, whatever. Uh, up, and of course the red, being the fever. These are just things that obviously we have to do better as a team, as the individual, and actually, as the players themselves. Uh, Brent, I'm trying to stay optimistic. At the same time, I, I I don't personally know anybody, and I've never seen anything, whether it's on the internet, on YouTube, you name it, that would love more than for Stephanie White to not ever show back up in Indiana. I know it's where she's from and whatever else, uh, but it like I say, it's and as well as I do that every game's different. Every coach that you play against, that your team plays against is different. The playing styles. Let's see, hold on. Brent, you know what? Honest, there again, this is wishful thinking, right? And that's just saying, that I considered. Now, obviously, I'm old, so I'm sure I went to bed well before the Storm game was over. But had a pretty good idea or fair thought they would lose, and they did. So, that really more or less kind of put us up 3 games. You know, of being into the playoffs with only 4 left, being that we held the tie break on them. So, we're literally 2 losses, but we hold the tie break. So 2 losses, we'd be tied. So we would have to lose 3 out of 4. They'd have to win out, in a nutshell. And so you said 1-3. That doesn't bode well for what I just said, by the way. But, uh, that's okay. Like I say, I was, really thinking or hoping, that they could find a way to go 2-2 at the worst. Hopefully better, but they've got to change the lineup. You know, like I say, from a coaching standpoint, the staff they got to change the lineup. Uh, Powers, right? She's a go getter. She don't give a shit. She will bang. You can tell. You know what I mean? Of the thousands of athletes that I coached, I know by looking who, I don't know, the old Will Ferrell movie. I know who's with me, who's going with me, and who's not. And Powers is definitely all in. So, my thing there is, AT's going to be bringing the ball up. She ain't a damn point guard. You know what I mean? She ain't got no damn handles. She shoots like shit. And I don't care what anybody says, about my videos. Oh, I never played professionally in the WNBA. No, you're right. I didn't play in the semi. I don't. It ain't even semi-pro. Whatever. I think NCAA basketball is better. What's up, Borders? Uh, you see, it'd be exciting. Thomas and Bonner will be out for. Yeah, they were last time too. Um, yeah, but that being said, right, with if the coach will, I know I said this one time on a video, right, that if somebody could potentially maybe call a welfare check or something on her, like incidentally, accidentally, before the game, then you know we'd have a much better chance because uh, a lot of times she seems to be what gets in the way. I don't know if it's her love of for Howard or what, but how the fuck you gonna leave her in to do like Forrest Gump and run across the world? She's supposed to be a veteran, but you're gonna act like Cece out there and tell everybody where they need to go while you're just walking around 3-point line with a basketball. It's like, oh boy, here we go. Let's see what you have. Powers, Boston, Sims, Holt, Mitchell. You know what, Brent? I was that's exactly what I had. And if I said with an exception, I really think Sims is a backup. And when I say that, I think she would be a great backup too for Kelsey Mitchell because they're kind of one and the same. And you definitely because we know they're gonna they're gonna make the playoffs. That's not it's just whether they'll be a 7 or 8 seed, right? I mean, unless they win, let's say 3 out of the last 4, they may get, bump up to a 6. That would obviously be best case because, they really, as much as they say they would prefer an 8 seed and play the Lynx, they really don't want that, okay? Because Reeves is that much better of a professional coach than Stephanie White. Um, and yeah, my autocorrect wears me out too. Yeah, Boru. That I mean, God dang, she's hard to watch sometimes. Well, and here's the worst part. If you want to run, okay, here's my thing. Is for one, obviously, it's just kind of rule of thumb, right? Is if a team has size, there's nothing you can do about that, right? You can't go grab some out of the crowd that's taller. so, um, so you beat size with speed. That they have, and they have some youth. So Uh, that's where I was saying, okay, so if you're going to do that and you're going to keep running and trapping, these are things they have to do. They should have done it against the Valkyrie. I said that, and I happened to, be with another gentleman in his live stream, and it lasted for a while, so I didn't actually officially get to come out, like with my own. I know that the Fever have, their scouting people, and they're always looking for my pregame, and they would appreciate it. I'm sure that I get those out before 30 minutes before the game, so that somebody actually has a clue before tip off. But because if you listen to everything that I'm going to say, is exactly if we're in the ball game, this would be why because they actually somebody has heard. It's just weird how it always happens to be exactly what I said. And Brent about Caitlin, uh, no, I don't. She won't. Actually, I know she won't. Um, yeah, and you're right. That's what I think too, Brent. I think we'll end up with Vegas or Atlanta. Either way, I don't care. Top 3, 4. They're all tough. Um, and pretty stacked lineups. If you were just on paper, right? And on paper, you could look at our roster even right now and say it's a top 6 or 7. If you didn't say top 5 rosters, I just don't know why we can't coach it. To yeah, well, and a lot of that, Brent is because people keep throwing this out there, right? They're like Valkyries. Well, they're an expansion team, so they got, uh, you know, they got they got all these other teams players that those other teams didn't want, and things like that. And I'm thinking, we picked up players, some guards, Harry McDonald, right? Even Aerial Powers. They're better than a lot of starters for a lot of teams in the league. That's just the way it is. I don't care if they like it or not. I mean, they probably don't subscribe to my channel. There is there's one gentleman I've known for a long time that's with the Fever organization. He's on the Pacers side though, but so he probably is the one that checks these out from time to time. When we see something that looks, right, then it's smart to I guess help them out a little bit. But yeah, the Valkyrie are young though, other than say Pac Bentley, and maybe one other, but Nakasi is a hell of a coach. If she doesn't get Coach of the Year, something's bad wrong. You know what I mean? The shit is rigged. Something's up, and I'll be done with their ass for good. Because there's no way you take an expansion team and and players nobody wanted, and then and they didn't, what do you call it, hold or whatever. They couldn't pick from them off of a team. Definitely Washington. You think? Brent, I just quit. I never did really speculate on whether or not CC would come back. I didn't, I try to break the things down, I guess, more so than bring breaking news. Board knows that is the John, the liquidator, Cedric, all those guys. That's they've got Twitter accounts. Things I don't even know what that is. I don't have no Twitter or Insto or TikTok and stuff. My kids, but you know what I mean. I don't have none of that stuff. So they get all the latest and greatest updates as soon as they come out. Now, that said, do I believe anything that the, Fever organization even say? No. Hell no. Do I believe? I can't, you know what? I can't even listen to Stephanie White anymore. I don't know about you guys, but, like just her voice makes me want to just, I got to go to the bathroom. I think I just threw up my mouth. But anyway, uh, it's just because it's all about she's like the old Toby, rest in peace. Yeah, Toby Keith. But it's like she wants to talk about me. She wants to talk about I. She's number one. She's my oh my. No, she's not. I Brent, honestly, like I say, until I see her lace up, because we'll know when she's at guard, number 22 from the University of Iowa. Okay, it's not like I'm not going to keep an eye on, the games, of course, and see what's going on. I just, what do they say? Hope for the best, expect the worst. I guess, I've done heard so much of their bullshit that I'm always expecting the worst. Hoping, but you just can't. It's hard to listen to, too much and get caught up into, are people reading between the lines? Are they seeing what they're really saying? No, If they didn't come out and just flat out say, which doesn't make any sense, what they think is so special about their damn league. But, it's perfectly fine for Pacers to release whatever info they want about Tyrese Halliburton. But all of a sudden that's, blown out of proportion and it's, goddamn HIPAA violation if they say Caitlin Clark's out for the season, or even just come out and say, see what's wrong with that much info. Uh, you know, okay, yes, she had the injury. She is not out for the season. From what we know from her doctor, she's not out for the season. That's not too much info. That's not breaking no rules or no medical laws. But they want to go so deep into, you see what I'm saying? It's all that narrative and drama shit that I don't know about you guys, gals, may have time for it. I don't. I'm just here for the basketball part of it, and I'm gonna try to keep it that way. New sport. Boru. I'm glad you asked. I've never seen nothing like it. It's unreal. I mean, asshat over there. I mean, Agnes is his name. But anyway, uh, and he said, I put up the, all the correct info. Yes, it may be behind the paywall. Do what? It may be behind the paywall. What the fuck? I'm not paying your ass shit. To what? You just keep saying that you're. I hear you, Brent. Yeah. Uh, it actually is raining here, believe it or not. I think rained in like a month. Finally did. I know there's a lot of places it was getting a lot of rain and storms and stuff. But So yeah, I can't stand this though from any coach ever. Period. You just don't go to the podium every damn game. Okay, I get it. You know, if I did it for 30 years, in my 30th year, I might get tired of going to the podium every time we lost. Same as my damn fault. Now, in her case, her record speaks for itself. So she should be on however many years she's been doing it, going and used to going to the podium and saying this shit's my fault. I suck. Okay, guys, but and everybody would understand, and they would, uh, kind of feel sorry for her, maybe throw her a bone, help her out a little bit. Uh, she's working on it. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody knows everything about anything. So there's nothing wrong with going to the podium and saying, uh, hey guys, look, I haven't had a chance to look at the film yet because obviously in the 10 minutes that I don't know they shower or whatever, I'm not going to go there. Anyway, uh, but in that 10 minutes, you didn't have time to go watch no damn film. So no, you can't break everything down at the press conference, post game presser. All you can say is the same thing they do in football when they go to the post game pressers is that, I haven't had an opportunity. I know we lost. I know a few things that I saw, the stats. Okay, yes, we all know stats can be deceiving. Box scores are definitely misleading at times. There's 9 out of 10 people that say they do don't know what plus minus means. They don't even know that the NBA has an adjusted plus minus that's totally different than just your regular plus minus. The WNBA doesn't have that yet. But yeah, right, Boru. I actually thought, I ain't gonna lie to you. You know me, I thought about that because I'm always just gonna be like, courtside says a lot of times, is I'm just gonna always be me because that's all I know how to do. And of course, that's how I was raised. So I don't, you know, I don't really know how to lie. And the only people I've ever seen even try to do it in my life, were just compounding the shit and having to remember who they told what. And I was like just watching them like, oh God, yeah, no, you know, even though my parents told me not to, and there was a few times where I thought maybe I should, I decided, nope, that's too much for me. Would you say it's just me, or is the W the only league that lets the player the game be on the losing? That is Boru. No kidding, really. And you know what, Boru? There's nothing wrong with that. I wish more people, because you know this as well as I do, but they don't know, whatever it is they're talking about, and damn act like, I mean, there ain't a fan or whatever one, a kid's dad, that knows every fucking thing about basketball or whatever sports their kids play. It's like, shut the hell up. No, you don't. But there again, I try not to pay attention. It's hard because they're like the ones that don't shut up. Plus minus Boru is all it is if let's just say I'll take a player that's still playing, Kelsey Mitchell, right? She's in the game. Okay, so what they do is take all the minutes that she was in the game and what the score was when she came in the game, what the score was when she went out, what it was when she went in, what it was when she went out. So for all those times, they add up the points they either went up or points they went down. It has absolutely nothing to do with their player stats. Nothing. It's a shit statistic, really. It's basically just telling you who the team's better off without. You know what I mean? The worst plus minus, means even though they might have had the best game of all the players on the team, it's like it can take them out, but they were a minus 30. Means that they dropped 30 points during all the minutes that she was actually in the game. That's why the NBA has now an adjusted, um, plus minus that does include, a few more variables that make it a little more reasonable, statistic. Like say there's so many people, because you can look at a winning team, uh, say the Valkyrie, right? And they won by 37 or something against the Sparks the other day before we played them. And, I think they had a player or two with a minus. It's like, huh? How's that happen? You win by 37. Well, it's because, it may have been uh, they got from down 37 to down 30. While that player was in, that player's going to be minus 7. If the whole time that, the only minutes she played, the team lost 7 points during that span, then she gets a minus in that column. So yeah, that's how that goes. But here's the biggest thing for us, right? And I always go back to fundamentals, and I go back to it because I'm old for one, and I keep saying it. I'm gonna keep on saying it because I don't care. I am. But anyway, that's okay. But is the simple things that you just expect, right? The bounce pass. Okay, if you're gonna throw it into the low post, that needs to have some arc on it. All right, you can't throw a dart, like through the opponent's face. That's not gonna work. Of course, that did happen a few times against the Valks. If Sims throws a lob in there, Boston did have a good position on the front side for a lay-in. But no, it went right to the other team. So, if Boston's on the other side, obviously the bounce pass isn't there. Um, then yeah, you got to throw that lob, and the only one that that has that passes anything I've seen that remotely uh, resembles a lob is Kelsey Mitchell's jump shot. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Her jump shot and just take enough off of it to land in Boston's arms instead of towards at the rim, then would be a beautiful pass. The problem is, like I say, same with her Sims. They're really a lot, well, so much similar. They're one and the same. They're bucket getters, and that uh, there's nothing wrong with it. You got to have those players. You know what I mean? There may be times, say back in the day, in Jordan and Pippen, right? And then Jordan may have missed 2, 3, 4 in a row. Get Scotty the ball. He was going to be good for 20. You know what I mean? You got to have good for 20. The Bulls never signed Dennis Rodman. You know what I'm saying? We signed Dennis Rodman for assists. Said no one ever. uh, you know, they signed him, and he's in the Hall of Fame, not because of his assists or scoring or anything, other than he was the ultimate rebounder. That's what they paid him the big bucks to do. They said, please, for the love of God, don't do anything else. Okay? Just get the rebounds, get the ball to a guard. Let's go. You know? It's like, why can't we understand that, as a team? This is your role. You're not above, if you want to call it the system, right? You're not above it, and when I say that, I'm going to go with, the thing on Howard, right? You're a veteran. What the fuck does that have to do with you can't dribble worth of shit? What's up, courtside? Uh, you know what I mean, yes, because y'all watched it, right? So, like I say, what the hell about being a veteran? Does that mean, that you can handle the ball? It doesn't. Uh, so, yeah, in my opinion, just to go back to Brent, I liked his lineup. Where did I'm going to see if I can see where that's at again. Where did he? Well, I was trying to go down. It's not letting me. Whatever. I don't know where it went. It's supposed to be refreshing. I don't know what it's doing. Hey, my phone's ringing. Oh, well. I hope he don't see this video. That's my dad. He's gonna have to go to voicemail. uh, tonight, my prediction, yep, and the keys. That's why I got the whiteboard up, is because, like I say, Brent, and, board report. This is this is what I had actually told Courtside before the last game. I said, we've got to get pressure up high, right? These teams, want to set their, let me pull my whiteboard up so I can see it, right? They want to set their offenses, right? So red be the Fever defense. And this is just, like I say, this is just one example, though, of a zone variety, but a trapping zone variety to, if I'm drawing the board, right, to say make them start their offense more in that line than being able to set their offense on this line, what they all like to do. See what I'm saying? So no to this, make them move it up. Now it makes this shot here into this shot. There. And that's not the shot they want. So, like I say, offensively or defensively, everything about any game is always about matchups and who matches up best against whom. But my thoughts were, like Brent had said, is having Powers in the starting lineup and having her guard Alyssa Thomas full court and just wearing her ass out, because she's not a point guard in the first place. Shoots like shit. She ain't very fast. And, I mean, even though she gets, her double-doubles and triple-doubles from assists and everything else, don't give her you can't give her the opportunity to read your defense or to see anything. You know what I'm saying? So if your Powers in this case, you're just going to, stay. Okay, she's right-handed. So, you see what I'm saying? So Powers is just going to stay like this here. And if Thomas wants to keep trying to go, right, you're just going to stay farther away like that, but not too far where she can just blow straight up the court on this side. So that you're still forcing her down this way. And as soon as nobody's doing anything or giving anything away, but as soon as she crosses half court, then boom, we're rotating. Everybody's moving in that direction. Everybody's moving in that direction. Fill the passing lanes, all right, one's going to trap, whether it's 4 or 2, but everybody's moving over to this side. Now we can hold their offense to 2/3 of the court, right? I just moved a whole player. But anyway, we can hold their offense to 2/3 of the court. Now I think, there again, that's me think, and I probably, I don't know that I get paid enough to think, but that's not the point. I don't guess. Like I say, there's a montage of different types of defenses. Let's just say, right, on the professional level, that, and this is a fact, it's not, is every zone type of defense or trapping or whatnot. Okay, they're going to have players, up here and over here. Probably one up here to set a screen for Thomas if you're going to try to. But, if we've got one trapping, then that's really a non-issue. They're still way above where they want to be. Now, here's the other thing, right, is why, especially against the Mercury. Why would we even bother? If we don't do this, right, if we don't do this and make them start passing and forcing those issues farther away from the basket, right, if we don't do that, all right, and they somehow do manage to get it into the regular 3-point area, right, is that, okay, you're not going over top of any screens. None. All right, Satu Sabali, she talks a lot of shit about the CBA thing. I ain't heard her talk nothing about basketball. She's just okay. She's not anything special. Not anything, anybody. No other teams have players that you have to worry about shooting 40, 30 footers, 27, 28. It's not a real thing. So you can go under screens all day long. Just take a step back, let them whiff, and then keep your guy. Do like the NBA does. Again, I hate to use them as an example, but you know, I always talk about our hedging of screens is kind of shit or skinny and over the top and things like that. So okay, let's just say their becomes a set of pick or whatever. So if you're Boston and you're going to show, then damn it, show. You know what I'm saying? You'll know this too. They don't. You know what I'm saying? Show. Make them go back. Now, okay, so if she goes, you got to go. You know what I mean? And it's just one of those things. But, all right, even if, so I thought this too, right, is even if they don't go, because you got to keep Boston out of the damn paint and we're getting defensive 3 seconds. So that was a dead giveaway against the Bucks early in the game is that they had 3 second defensive violate technical fouls in the first and second quarter, first quarter and a half. So, duh, it tells you as a coach they're trying to pack the paint, right? So every team, obviously, you're always out there trying to gain an advantage, right? But it's like, okay, if you want to take something away, you got to sacrifice something. So they said, okay, we don't think you can make threes, so we're going to sacrifice that, and we're going to take away Kelsey Mitchell driving, Ossie Sims driving, all that bull crap. No, you're not doing that today. And Stephanie White and her staff, so that I'm not throwing her under the bus by herself, couldn't game plan around that. There's a gazillion different ways you could game plan around that and not go 6 for 30 and keep on shooting threes when they're not going in. There wasn't a in the Chase Center. That's another thing pisses me off, right? Is they want to talk about how shit the WNBA is. I'm not saying one way or the other, but you can't say it's the WNBA's fault and what a shit product and stuff, and base it on the power outage they had earlier that day and blame the damn Golden State Valkyries because they're playing at the Golden State Warriors facility. They're playing at a damn 4-time champion team's facility, and that's the building that had technical difficulties, not the WNBA arena. I'm sure that high school gym was still fully functional. It's got a 3,500 watt generator that was fully capable of operating the shot clock. I'm certain of it. I can't guarantee you nothing. I don't like the West Coast that much, or not that far. Okay, so look, if they're not going to do, let's just say, and I'm just throwing a couple of different options out there, right? Because they can kind of sort of do whatever they want. So your standard, what is called a box and one, right? Like I say, at the professional level, everything kind of has to be considered a matchup variety zone, right? So even if it's going to be a box and one, right? And we'll just say, if that was Powers on, it won't be, like I say, White will do her usual. She'll have slow ass, old ass Howard ass out there. And Boru says he's going to walk the dogs. That's what she needs to do. Take a leash out on the court with her, and for somebody hook up, I don't know, one of those things, make a basketball that has a leash connection thing to it, so that just for Howard. But anyway, so if they're going to do that right, then the other team, is just by default is going to throw 4 out, right? Another one be in a corner. Okay, so if they're going to play, a 1-2-2 or box and one variety, if I said, matchup zone, okay, they're just not going to be too close to those players out there. they're going to stay close enough where they can, if this is weak side over here, where they can still shut this down if they have to. See what I mean? And or set these traps up high. If Petty's able to push her over and get the ball, I said it Petty. All right, I'm assuming again if the Odyssey sends, it's like you guys said, you can't see over anybody anyway, but we'll see how it goes. But if we're able to get that trap set, then the rest of it, of course, is all about the rotation. These three here have got to, there again, you're turning it into forcing them to try to get something in the 24 seconds worth of shot clock in, using only 2/3 of the court. You're trying to take this side away. So if you get the trap set right, this pass from here all the way over to the corner can't happen. You know what I mean? Like it would be impossible. And when I say it would be impossible, okay, if it happened once, who gives a shit? Keep trapping. All right. 4 is going to slide up because they're going to have one there. 3 is going to slide over. 5 is going to do the same. She's not going to leave the vicinity of the paint area, so she's closer. Then there will be a player in here, so she'll be close enough, and she will be too, because there will be a cutter off of that. So then all we got to do is stop ball. But stop ball somewhere in this area. Here. That's not a shot they want. They want layups at the basket. But we know that already. So, like I say, I don't think, anywhere other than on ball, I don't think there's a reason for them to concern themselves with drafting anybody, anywhere. There, took it off screen. Yeah, because like I say, if we match up, and I even had it written down of who, if it was me, of who I would, yeah, no reason to, for anybody to concern themselves with shot 2. Definitely no reason for anybody to concern themselves with Bonner. Like I say, it doesn't matter, shot 2, Bonner. They have the one girl comes off the bench that, normally shoots okay from 3. Either way, still, they got to be fairly close to the 3-point line. So a closeout, not a reckless closeout. They got to stop with that already. Or do like you're supposed to do and jump past them, on the away side. If they're right-handed, so you'd be going on their left side, up high. It seems like a contest. It's not really, though. Then let's see but the way I would do it, like there again. That's just me. Wife's not going to, because she has some love for Howard. It's utterly stupid. Because I don't give a shit if you play Powers for 30 minutes. She's going to give you a better stat line than Howard every damn game. I don't care. Stephanie White can tell me what she sees in practice. I don't need to hear about it. Because for one, from everything she said, I don't believe her in the first place. So she's lying to me about what she saw in practice. But I don't give a shit. Because you got players that may not show up in practice. But you bet your ass on game days, they show up and they show out every time without fail. And you're talking big leagues here, supposedly. So I'm not wasting any minutes of any game on some bullshit. I got Lexi. Let's see, I got needs to play. Just needs to just man up, right? If that's what they're going to do on Satu, and just put the clamps down. She don't get shit. I don't. If I'm and there again, if I'm the coach, I don't care if Lexi fouls out. But Satu don't get shit. Just take her out. Powers, if because last game we had AB guarding AT. And that what kind of matchup is that? I mean, yeah, it's good if they have a point guard and somebody else bringing the ball down the floor. But damn, we don't need our big running 94 feet most of the game. That's stupid. Uh, nobody in their right mind's ever going to guard AT behind the 3 point line because that's not, I don't even know if she's shot a three. If she has, it's got to be like 10% or something. Uh, but yeah, I got Powers picking AT up full court the whole game. Now I did put a sheet since we know she's going to leave Howard in anyway. Put her ass on Bonner because they're both old, they're both slow, they both suck. So whatever. All right, AB. Uh, kind of covering that painted area, but at the same time, they're not huge, tall. The Mercury, so not as concerned. AB can take the next largest ones. I think with Howard 6'2", 6'3", or something, Bonner's only 6'4". That's the tallest player the Mercury have. But then they do have Cock Hopper. So there again, who gives a shit? Most of the time she don't show up, and that's that is a real thing. When she does, okay, but uh, there again, it's one of those things where like if you're gonna try to stop one thing, you're gonna have to sacrifice something else. So what are we gonna sacrifice? We're gonna let you guys have all the damn threes you want. And flip the script from what the Valks did to us because they're worse than we are, and us shooting 6 for 30 from the 3 point line again. I don't think that's gonna. I don't. I just don't think it's gonna happen. Now this is just me personally, right? I would put. I would start Teddy over Sims because she's a little more height and she was a true point guard. People might say that Kelsey Mitchell, well, she was a point guard in college. Well, fuck, she's been in the NBA for 8 years. So, I'm pretty sure she probably, as a professional, gotten used to being a two guard. So, when she gets the ball, she's been expected to put the ball in the hoop. And that's obviously what we'd still love to see her keep doing. But the other things should stay, as I always say, which is keep them off the offensive glass. We have got to get offensive rebounds and putbacks balanced, right? Balanced. Uh, Rebounding. And if you have any other notes, but, turnovers, we got to quit with, with that. There again, as a coach, you see that it's getting close to, being a turnover. There's going to be an official somewhere there close to you. There's no better time than right now uh, to burn a timeout because, like I say, you can't take them with you when you leave the game anyway. And we end up leaving. If we had rollover minutes, we'd have like 100 extra timeouts to use during games. Uh, But it's like I said before too. There's nothing wrong with White coming out and saying, "Guys, look, this one's on me." We had a game plan, and it was obvious early it wasn't working. And uh, we just got to go back and look at film and see, what we need to do to put them in a better position to be successful. As a coach, that's your job. Is to put your players, give them the best opportunity to succeed. However, you have to do it. You don't want to game plan and make it all towards some of your best players' weaknesses. I mean that what I'm saying, that sets them up for failure. Now you're trying to make them look bad. So why would you do that? So yeah, there's a whole lot about what she does and her game plan and things like that don't make a damn lick sense. But I'm not trying to go down that road. not that I care. Like I said, I don't have social media and all those stuff. So then like anybody can blow up my tweeter with bad messages or whatever they want. Because good luck. I bet on the tractor. Is what I'll be doing. But like I say, it's the we got to get steals, layups. Our half court offense without CC is non-existent. If they're going to try to do like the Valks did and let us have threes, obviously the easiest thing to do would be to knock a few down early and let them know, look, that shit's not going to fly again. Will we be able to do that? Well, we'll find out here at Chihuahua, right? But there are also other ways. Your baseline cuts and ball screens and baseline cutters and that being the easiest off the top of my head to uh, to scheme and devise up ways, right? But she's got to do the same thing for AB. All right, I'm not gonna I can't let AB off the hook for missed layups, but I can let her off the hook for only getting 7 shot attempts because that's not on her. The coach has got to find a way to get her open. And, and I mean open looks. Like some of the ones, that were missed layups, they weren't easy. There were still 3 or 4 players, swatting at her arms and, trying to get the ball. Just it is what it is in the paint. It gets, a little hairy down there sometimes. But what did I put on here? I'll make it my last note, guys, and like I say, I just wanted to give the new software a go on a live stream, and hope that it worked out, and kind of include it in my daily game plan or pregame. What I expect to see, and my prediction. Brent, I don't even know if you're still with me. I haven't seen anything in a little bit, so maybe not. I'm going to predict that I have gotten my pregame uh, thoughts and predictions, or not thoughts and game plan scheming, what I would do uh, out early enough that I believe it will get where it needs to go, and the Fever will in fact beat Phoenix in Phoenix. If Courtside isn't already over there making a video on his channel saying we're going to win tonight, you heard it first here. The Fever are going to beat the Mercury, if for no other reason, it's because they watched my video and somebody took some damn notes. That's what they need to do. And it's so, if everything works out like I said, then now everybody, it's okay. It's like Courtside says, I have to get up here and stand on business and accept the blame for not getting the game plans and schemes out sooner every single game this season. We may be up against the Lynx for the number 1 spot in the playoffs going into the playoffs. I will have to totally lose some sleep over, having missed the opportunity a few times to get game plans out, ahead of time. But like I say, in the off chance that I'm incorrect and they don't, get these memos out, right, and get something different, right, game plan and different strategy. Uh, then, like I say, we were fortunate last night that Storm lost, so it really kind of puts us up 3 games with 4 left. So we're in. Mathematically, there's an off the wall chance, right, that uh, they that the Fever don't make it, but it's it's kind of far fetched. The Storm and even the Valves have pretty tough last 3 or 4 games of the season. Uh, so it should be good. We'll see. Like I say here, I don't know why they got to make a game on a Tuesday at 10 freaking o'clock at night. Because you know I'm gonna stay up for it means I'm gonna miss work. No, I'll be late. But whatever. All right. Everybody have a wonderful Tuesday, and hopefully things go right. Quick passes, right? Some arc into the paint or bounce passes. My usual things that I go over. You know, the defensive intensity has got to be there. We need 5 Lexi Halls out there is what we need, all with the right size. And every game would be an easy win. But steals and layups obviously is easier than trying to play a game from half court set. The whole game. Having said that, will we make that adjustment? Will White, if she decides to go with Sims to start, go to Petty quick, or even Powers, quick, and and put some pressure on them defensively. Like I say, AT can't handle the ball, so I mean, it's not hard to see their weaknesses. It's just so I don't know why so many teams have had so much trouble, doing something about it. But somebody like Powers, damn sure ain't afraid, of an Alyssa Thomas or whatever. I just from what little bit I've seen of Shea Petty, she didn't look like she's too much scared of nothing either. And they're not 5'6", 5'7", 5'8" either. So they can handle their business. But I will get off here, like I say, let you guys go. But that's my thoughts, my opinions, my whatever, and my prediction for tonight's game. I think that they will find a way to get this done, and hopefully, in this whole whopping 2 days they had to